Great music coming right out of here in Winnipeg. Another reason to be proud to be from Winnipeg and proud to be a Canadian. Well, Tara Miller from Winnipeg, Manitoba, entered one of her pictures in the 2011 CNIB I Remember Photography competition, which you can see at iremember.ca. Tara was the only legally blind photographer to be shortlisted into the final 5 when the voting opened to the general public. The voting is now closed, and the winner is going to be announced this week on July 5th. After Miller's story ran in a few local newspapers, it caught the attention of producers at Coast to Coast AM, which doesn't surprise me because this is kind of one of those, wow, a legally blind person is entering photographs in a competition. It's kind of, that's totally Coast to Coast material. I imagine they probably had a conspiracy theory for that. The producers of the program ran a link to Tara's story on their webpage, and from there the story went viral. The result was overwhelming for Tara. In just 4 days, there were over 4,000 people sharing her story over various social media networks, and she's going to be on Canada AM on Tuesday. Tara Miller joins me in the studio. Tara, welcome.
Thank you so much, Greg.
What a story. You enter a picture in I guess it was a photograph, but not just something you take with the camera. You do some post-processing as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll get you to come in a little closer to the mic.
Sure.
And you enter your picture. It's a competition. It is a little bit unusual that you're legally blind. You have about, 10% vision?
I have probably around 6% vision.
Okay, so less than 10% vision.
Yes.
And were you expecting the kind of response that you received?
Not at all. I was overwhelmed by it. With the contest itself, it was open to all Canadians to enter, and it was they wanted you to submit your image on what you remember about glaucoma awareness. And me having glaucoma for 20 years, I thought, oh, what a perfect advantage for me to enter my photo and just have some awareness on it and the memory of taking that photo. And after I entered it and I made the 5 finalists, it was just incredible with all of the emails and responses I got from everyone.
Well, you were on Coast to Coast
Yes.
AM?
Yes.
I love that show.
So do I.
It airs on CJOB after at midnight on right here after about an hour after my show, and I think it's incredible. Talk a little bit about how the Coast to Coast AM interview went.
I was not on the radio show itself.
Okay, so they were talking
Yes.
about your picture.
I was on the website.
Right.
It was actually great that evening because we were doing some storm chasing. That was when they had the storms just by Carmen
Right.
that evening. So what we like to do is put on CJOB at nighttime. We'll listen to your show, sometimes the old radio show, and then it breaks into Coast to Coast for their long rides home because when you're out storm chasing, you don't realize how far out you are.
You like storm chasing?
Yes.
You have 6% of your vision.
Yes.
You like storm chasing.
Yes, it's the lightning.
Yeah.
And it's the clouds.
Oh, yeah.
And just the
The
pure
feel of
excitement.
wind circling around you,
Yes.
lifting your vehicle off the ground, that kind of thing.
Well, we haven't gotten that yet. We haven't been around any of those storms yet. But it was just such a great experience. And then when I got home and I got the email from them just telling me that my story was online, I immediately opened it up and I was so excited, but I was actually more excited because I made it above, I think it was the camping aliens. So I made it just one hit above that. And it was just
See, this is
such
what
a
I love
great
about that
high.
show. So you're above camping aliens.
Yes.
You beat out camping
Yes.
aliens.
But it was just such a great high because I've listened to that show again, for 20 years.
Yeah. Now, photography competition.
Yes.
Any hesitation at all in entering these things? Do you think, what's the point? What's the use? Or do you go into these competitions saying, hey, I can compete with anybody?
It's been more recently for that I've done that. It's having the confidence to think that, okay, I do have visual limitations, but my photos, I've had so many compliments saying that I'm just as good as the regular photographer who can see normally. And because I'm a professional photographer, as more of a hobby than a hobbyist, now I entered my photo in Red River exhibition, and with that one I won the Best in Show for it. And with the one that I entered for CNIB, it was the same time I've entered that photo because it was so strong for me.
It's a
And
very
that one
it's a very compelling image.
Yes.
Very compelling.
Thank you. And that one is in the finalist right now. So that image I entered twice. So if I enter it again and it doesn't place or anything like that, it'll be one of those things. Well, what do you mean it didn't get anywhere?
Oh, so now you're indignant if you don't. So never mind hesitation, never mind concern. Can I compete? You actually believe you should win. I like that. You're what Prime Minister Harper was hoping for when he said, "We believe we live in the best country in the world." You believe you're one of the best photographers.
No, nothing like that. But I always get the feeling that I should be able to compete.
Yes.
I'm good enough as the other photographers out there, and I should be showing them what I can do and what somebody with who's legally blind.
Talk about your gear. I'm interested in what kind of equipment you use to get your work done.
Yes, I use Nikon gear. I've always been using Nikon since I was in grade 6 in Robert H. Smith School.
So back before digital SLRs.
Yes.
Yep.
Using that.
But the equipment has changed a lot, right? Now, not only the
Yes.
cameras, but what you use after. You're not using developing solution anymore, I'm guessing.
No, I had
dark rooms.
I had to give the film cameras up just because of the fact with the vision going, I couldn't see anything more with the displays and developing. Now that I'm able to do that again, I have 2 years ago I had a Nikon D80 that I was using, and it was just a great camera, just a great workhorse. It was phenomenal. Then I thought I would get into a little bit more serious. I ended up getting a Nikon D300S is what I'm shooting with now.
That's some nice gear.
Yes, it's very nice. And with the help of, with my husband and that, I've sort of memorized the camera settings.
And did I see that you use a 27-inch iMac?
Yes.
I love those 27-inch iMacs.
They're great.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
They're great. And then when I tether it to the back of the camera when we're doing our commercial work, photography and that, and the food.
Oh, you've got a 27-inch representation of your image.
Yes. The only thing is, though, sometimes a lot of people will think because you're visually impaired, the larger the equipment you have, the more viewing area you have, the better it is for you. But with someone having glaucoma, with that field of vision gone, bigger isn't necessarily better. It might be if I want to take a look to see if the image is clear, when I enlarge it a little bit, it is better. But then I still have to zoom across the whole screen with my eye.
And get perspective.
Yes, that's right.
I'm talking with Tara Miller, a photographer who happens to be legally blind. That's on CJOB 68. The Greg Glatz Show airs Saturday and Sunday nights on CJOB 68. Listen live at cjob.com and 680 AM in Winnipeg. Coming up on 10:52 on CJOB 68, the Information Superstation. I'm Greg Glatz. You can find me at gregglatz.com. Hope you're having a great Canada Day long weekend. What a beautiful weekend. So many good things going on, and the weather is fantastic. Joining me in the studio is Tara Miller, who's an award-winning photographer who happens to be legally blind. Tara, welcome.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Great to have you on tonight. I just want to mention that you and your husband, Jeff, are actually professional commercial photographers, and they can find your website at 100acrewoodsphotography.com.
Yes.
So you do photography for a living.
Yes, we do.
This is what you do all day long.
Yes.
Love it. Let's talk about your blindness. How did that happen?
Yes. I was born with congenital rubella syndrome. And what that is, my mother was around someone who had German measles, and she was not inoculated for it. And I ended up being born with the congenital cataracts and the eye problems due to that, of her not being inoculated. And
that has a lot of possible symptoms that can happen, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I've heard it can affect the heart, it can affect the brain.
Yes.
And in your case, it affected your eyes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I always look at it, and I always explain to people that I was fortunate enough to have the eye problems, where you can sort of accept that, if you had to wear glasses or even if you were totally blind, it's something that you can still go on living your life.
Right.
You don't have the neurological or the heart problems where you're going to have to worry about your life or not being able to live a normal life.
Yeah, I would not even think of you as legally blind, talking to you and watching you operate and work. And when I see your work, it really is stunning. It's absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
When you're dealing with something like blindness, do you call it a disability?
No, because I've had I was going to say problem, but it's not really a problem, because I've had my disability my whole life, and it slowly creeped away on me when I had glaucoma. I've learned to sort of embrace it when I lost some more of my vision when I was younger, it took a while to get over it. It was almost like there was a death in the family where you're sort of having to cope with that loss. But once you grieve that personal loss, and that's where I was fortunate, I had CNIB there to help me with that. And I've always had them there in my life. And once I got over that and learned to accept it.
How did you get over that? How did you find peace?
It took me a long time to do it, and I think to be really honest, it was the photography again, because I was always told to find a hobby.
So a sighted art, a
Yes.
sighted pursuit,
Yes.
or what we normally call a sighted art, one of the most visual pursuits possible, is how you find inner peace
Yes.
in losing your sight.
Yes.
That's an incredible paradox, and yet it makes total sense when I see what you're able to do
Yes.
with your equipment.
Yeah, and I can explain that as well a little bit further for you, because I was told to go take Tai Chi or something like that. It was always hard for me sometimes to find out, because I don't have that depth of field to find out where people's hands are placed. It's almost where I had to get up really close to see where that was. Or with art, I was painting for a while, and I just found it was too hard to paint. Then I found that I always loved photography, and with the digital age, I got back into it, and I thought it was really fun to do. But then when I took it up professionally, and I could get that image again, or see that image in my head that I hadn't seen, for maybe 15 years since the vision had sort of gone and the vision went cloudy. Once I could see it again in the camera, and it was the whole entire image, and I knew that it was all there. And instead of being a third of the image of what I see now, it was just incredible. And the feeling, it just something clicked and said, "This is what I have to do. This is
A new
my
opportunity,
passion."
a new
That's right.
vista, a new path.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the future hold? I mean, you're waiting for Tuesday to find
Yes.
out if you've won. You're in the
Yes.
top 5.
Yes.
In my mind, making it to the top 5 is an accomplishment all of its own.
Yes.
But you sound like you want to win.
Yes.
What happens the week after next, and next month and next year? What are you looking at doing? What are you hoping to accomplish?